Good morning, dear colleagues, public, candidate. I hope that you all hear me. The advisory group of experts gathered today to start interviews with candidates for one vacant position of a judge of the Constitutional Court of Ukraine under the quota of the President of Ukraine. And during the 15th and 16th of July, we plan to conduct interviews with all 7 candidates. We operate in the shelter, so we are covered appropriately, and in the event of an airstrike, interviews will continue without interruption. The advisory group of experts collected materials and information about the candidates, including answers to requests to state institutions and organizations, as well as to candidates' own answers to written questions posed by advisory group of experts. All collected information and materials meet the requirement of Article 10(6) of the Law of Ukraine on the Constitutional Court of Ukraine. I also want to emphasize once again that the purpose of conducting interviews is to provide an opportunity to clarify problematic issues of candidates and dispel any doubts about their moral qualities, if possible. So today, the advisory group of experts is going to conduct an interview with the candidate for the post of the judge of the Constitutional Court of Ukraine, Ms. Nataliia Vasilyevna Kaminska. Ms. Kaminska was admitted to the competitive selection based under the quota of the President of Ukraine. Ms. Kaminska is a professor of the Department of International Law and Comparative Law of the Faculty of International Relations of the National Aviation University. We are ready to start, so I will give the floor to the Secretary of the Advisory Group of Experts, Mr. Yaroslav Romaniuk, to explain the algorithm of our work today and moderate the interview. Mr. Secretary, please, the floor is yours.
Дякую, пане голово.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Ms. Natalia. Good morning, everyone who is watching the broadcast of our interview today. And I would like to congratulate all of you on the day of Ukrainian statehood. Ms. Natalia, today, during the interview with you, as the chair has mentioned, all 6 members of the AGE are present, including the chair of the AGE, Mr. Alexander, members of the AGE, Ms. Maureen O'Connor, Ms. Hanna Sukhotska, Ms. Oksana Vasilchenko, also member of the AGE, Vasil Shakun, and I, secretary of the AGE, Yaroslav Romaniuk. Also, during the interview, we have substitute members of the AGE present. Right now, we have 5 substitute members, including Mr. Richard Barat, Mr. Marek Zubik, Mr. Volodymyr Kuzmenko, Mr. Vitaly Makhinchuk, and we also have remotely present during your interview, Mr. Thomas Griffith. Ms. Natalia, you've already participated in the competitive selection for the position of the judge of the Constitutional Court of Ukraine, and there was already held interview with you. You know how all of this is happening, but at the same time, I would like to briefly remind you on the regulatory framework and the procedure of the interview conduct. So, interview is one of the mandatory stages for evaluation of the criterion of high moral of qualities of candidates. The The AGE conducts interviews with candidates according to Article 7 of the methodology, in particular with the aim of clarifying and refuting any doubts about their high moral qualities. So the goal of the interview is to provide you with the possibility to refute the information which you have, or to refute those doubts regarding your integrity which the AGE might have. While processing materials about you, Ms. Natalia, the AGE sent you questions so that you could provide written explanations and answers. So you've had the opportunity to prepare and provide respective answers, what you've been doing, and we are grateful to you for communication with the advisory group of experts. In this context, I would like to draw your attention to the fact that according to Part 8 of Article 7 of the methodology, you cannot provide today information, documents, or other materials with respect to which we've made a request, which we've requested to provide, but for some reasons you've refused to provide it, or you did not want to provide it, or the information which we did not know before, but that you decided to provide only today. We will not take that into account. At the same time, we may make an exception if there are valid grounds for that. Do you understand that? Yes? Okay. Also, I would like to inform you that we have the recording of this interview, and it is also broadcast live at the resources of the AG and at the website of the Constitutional Court of Ukraine. Therefore, I draw attention of the members of the AG and you, Ms. Natalia, with respect to the restriction of the use of sensitive data and information with limited access during the live broadcast. If necessary, we will suspend the live broadcast in order to talk to you about this, and so that this information would not be disclosed publicly. Ms. Natalia, I would like to draw your attention to the fact that the duration of the interview is approximately 1 hour, and you will have up to 3 minutes to answer our questions. So please be concise, and please answer the questions concisely. I would like to remind you that at the end of the interview, we will have the opportunity for concluding remarks for up to 5 minutes. Do you understand that, right? So now we are ready to start our interview with the candidate for the position of the judge of the Constitutional Court of Ukraine, Ms. Natalia Kaminska, and I will start with asking questions to you, Ms. Natalia. On March 23 of 2024, the AGE already took a decision with respect to you, Ms. Natalia. You participated in the competition for the position of the judge of the Constitutional Court of Ukraine back then under the quota of the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine, and now you participate in the competition again under the quota of the President of Ukraine. Do you confirm previously provided answers from the previous competition? Yes, I confirm. Would you like to provide any additional information to complement your oral or written answers that you provided previously or now during the period of communication with the AGE within the framework of preparation for this interview? Please switch on your microphone. All clarifications have been provided in answers to the questions of the AGE, so right now I don't have anything to add. Okay. Questions which we will be asking you now will concern those facts and circumstances which were already evaluated during the previous competition, as well as with respect to new facts and circumstances which we've found out during this competition. Do you understand that? Okay. With respect to the previous competition, with the decision of the advisory group of experts dated March 23 of 2024, you were recognized as non-compliant with the criterion of high moral qualities. As far as I know, you have not received a copy of the decision. You have not looked through it. Do you know what were the reasons, what were the motives why the AGE recognized you as non-compliant with the criterion of high moral qualities required from the candidate for the position of the judge of the Constitutional Court of Ukraine? Thank you for your question. Yes, I have not received the complete text from the AGE, but after completion of the competition, I had a chance, upon your consent, to look through all the materials of the dossier collected with respect to me, and on May 31st I looked through all the materials And I made respective conclusions, and based on that, I sent respective explanations to the AGE at the beginning of June of this year within the framework of this competition. Okay, clear, thank you. And I would like now my colleague, Miss Maureen O'Connor, to continue the interview with you. She also has some questions to you, please, Miss Maureen.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Добрий ранок.
Good morning.
First, I'd like to ask you, at the previous competition, we asked you about the sources of funds for the purchase of an apartment that you purchased in 2007. And that apartment is located in the city of Kyiv. And the cost appears to be 95,000 US or about 780,000 hryvnia. Let me ask you, would you like to clarify again, what were the sources of the funds for the purchase of this apartment?
I'm sorry. It's not very clear information as a result of interpretation maybe, but the amount specified in my explanations was $80,000. In 2007, the apartment was bought for credit funds, and the amount was $80,000. I confirm all the explanations and information provided during the previous competition about that. I cannot add anything new. These were credit funds, and copies of the mortgage agreement and the credit agreement have been provided to the AGE. Until 2015, the credit was repaid under this particular agreement.
For clarification, then, are you saying you borrowed money? You took a mortgage on this property?
Перебуваючи в
While being married, we took the credit for this property, yes.
And you say the dollar amount was 80,000, not 90 US dollars?
Ні, 8
Yes, 80,000.
Okay. What amount of these funds belong to your ex-husband and to your father-in-law?
Partially, as I've specified, until about 2011, my father-in-law, who is now dead, unfortunately, repaid the credit for this apartment. He made monthly credit installments. But of course, after our divorce, I was paying that on my own, and I was repaying commitments under this credit agreement.
And the purchase, drawing your attention back to the purchase, was it their personal funds, your ex-husband and your former father-in-law? They used their personal funds for payment on this mortgage?
свекор так.
The father-in-law, yes, he used personal funds, but we did not live together as a family, so he used his personal funds. This was his initiative. He had the opportunity to pay for it. We had a small child born, so we are grateful for support, financial support.
Let me ask you then, were there common marital funds that went in to pay off this loan? You and your husband, when you were married, you made payments, or only your father-in-law made payments, for clarification?
Ну, переважно
Mostly the father-in-law, maybe once or twice. It was a long time ago. I'm afraid to provide inaccurate information now, but I have all receipts preserved, so I have the confirmation of that, and I have not received this request from the AGE to provide that.
All right, so after your divorce and your father-in-law's, former father-in-law's passing, you finished paying off the mortgage yourself. Is that my understanding?
Partially, I was helped by my parents, partially. And of course, I was working at several places of work, and all together we were repaying these credit funds.
And what were your parents' contribution to paying off this mortgage on the apartment?
ну, точну суму.
I cannot name the specific amount right now because I do not have supporting documents right now here with me. When they had the opportunity. We even were not recording that, but who had the opportunity, that person was repaying that in order to quickly repay this credit.
Remind me then, when was this mortgage paid off? When was it completed?
2015.
In 2015.
Thank you. At the previous competition, we asked you about the sources of funds for the purchase of an apartment for your mother in 2021 in Kyiv, which was later, I believe, given to you. Is that correct?
Так.
Yes.
According to the declaration, the cost of the apartment was about $50,000 in US dollars, or 1,330,000 hryvnia. Would you agree with that?
Not really. If you allow, I would like to specify, because the US currency exchange rate back then was different. It was about 20 hryvnias per $1, contrary to the current currency exchange rate. So the approximate value was $75,000. My mother was repaying this amount, but the specific amount that you specified in hryvnia was really accurate, and it is given in my declaration for 2023. In hryvnia, the amount was correct. In dollars, it was slightly different.
Thank you. All right. According then to what I believe that you have given us previously, you gave your mother approximately 480,000 hryvnia.
Якщо чесно,
Frankly speaking, in front of my eyes, I have eyes, and I specified that I provided $18,000. I provided the amount in dollars.
All right. Okay. But according to the State Register of Individual Taxpayers, the State Register of Taxpayers, your mother had no income during 2020 to 2023. However, she had to pay at least, I'm presuming, $32,000 for this apartment.
Probably slightly more.
The purchase price was about $50,000.
я уточнювала.
No, I've clarified $70,000.
All right. So she paid more than the $32,000. All right. Once again, what were the sources of the origin of your contribution, and what sources are the origin for your mother's contribution? If you could clarify that, please.
Okay. I can clarify, of course. Back then, I had significant deposit funds at deposit accounts in US dollars, so I withdrew these funds from my deposit accounts. Accordingly, I transferred those funds to my mother. That's about me. With respect to my mother, as I specified last time, my mother received payments, significant payments, during resignation in 2019 when she resigned due to retirement. Also, later on, she won a court proceeding with respect to the remaining payments, which were not paid to her on time due to her resignation and the retirement assistance. So it was about 1,400,000 hryvnias according to the court decision. I've provided the AGE with all of these documents which confirm that my mother received funds at her accounts.
Також
Thank you. In the declaration for 2022 regarding the value of the apartment, you used you marked it as not known, and then the next year, in 2023, you indicated the full value of the apartment. How did you obtain that information in 2023 that you didn't have in 2022?
Thank you for your question.
I will specify that I did consider the wishes that were expressed by the dear experts, the group of experts, to find all possible ways to specify or indicate the verified information in the declaration for 2023. And I guess you see that all the marks not known were removed here on all of the property, and here it was mentioned the clear amounts of the price of these property. And just like I mentioned the previous time during the interview, this apartment was given to me in the beginning of 2023 by my mother. And when my mother made this gift to me, she did not provide me the information on the cost of this apartment, but then she informed it to me. And in accordance with the last, market value, the one that I specified in the declaration for 2023.
Market value, remind me again, in 2023?
Це не
I have specified not market value, but the value in accordance with the assessment of the property for the moment of the purchase sale of the apartment, just like it is requested in accordance with the current legislation of Ukraine, the latest assessment.
For the sale amount is what you provided us. And apparently there's a discrepancy between the sale amount, in other words, what you purchased for it, and an apartment in a similar type of an apartment, a similar building. The value as of 2024, July of 2024, would be approximately approaching almost 4 million hryvnia.
можна пояснити?
Can I explain?
Е,
Yes, I also have familiarized with the materials that were collected on my candidacy in the framework of this competition, and I would like to clarify. Indeed, there is such information provided by corresponding bodies or organizations, and I would like to say that it's quite weird because I cannot say that this is a discrepancy, because the cost of 4 million, that's currently in accordance with official exchange rate currently. And secondly, this apartment, for example, on the website of the property, it is sold for $110,000. It's the one that you say that is over 4 million. You can see it on the website for almost a year and nobody is buying it, because in fact the real cost of this object is a lot less. And you must understand that all apartments are different. It depends upon the floor, where it's located, the repairs, the furniture, other elements. So I do not quite agree with this information that is provided there. Frankly speaking, I try to just indicate the truthful data in accordance with the documents that can confirm this. I mean, referring to my object.
Would take issue with the comparison of the apartment that I referenced and the apartment that you own. They're not the same. Is that correct?
Так, тому
Yes, it is correct, because this price is too high. This announcement is on the website for a year and a half and nobody is purchasing it.
Thank you. In your declaration for 2022, you declared assets in precious metals, gold and silver, with a total value of, I believe, is it 115,000 hryvnias? And in the declaration for 2023, you declared the same assets. What were the origins of those assets?
So allow me to clarify, if it was 115,000, but now it's even a higher amount, just to avoid any further, questions, because the market value has increased for precious metals. And second, the sources of origin of these funds, just like I mentioned in the previous interview, it was partly a gift. So the gold assets were given to me, and the minimum of them were bought or purchased, and the biggest half of it has been given to me by my grandparents, and I do not deny this fact.
And when did that occur, that your grandparents gifted you the gold?
Як я зазначала,
As I have specified, in 1995. Well, my grandmother has given it to me earlier because she died in 1992, and then grandfather gave it to me in 1995.
Same declaration in 2022, you declared cash in the amount of $20,000 US, and in the declaration for 23, it was $27,000 US. Can you explain the 20 to the 27?
ви маєте на увазі різницю?
Do you mean the difference why it was more in 2023? Well, in my declaration per 2022, I have indicated the funds that were lent to the third persons, and they were partly repaid. So I lent them in 2022, and the amount grew until $27,000.
You lent $20,000, it was repaid, and the repayment amount was $27,000.
Ні, я позичу.
No, I lent, in accordance with the declaration of 2022, $15,000, but as I have specified in the declaration in 2023 and the explanation for the advisory group of experts, 5,900 have been repaid, and these funds were added to the total amount.
The sources of that cash that was in your possession, what are they, the sources of that cash?
Just like I mentioned in the previous interview, in my explanations provided to the ADG, these were mostly donated money before the death of my grandfather and my father. I still confirm this.
How much was that inheritance from your father?
Okay, from my father, well, I have indicated that approximately was €15,000 and $35,000.
€1,000?
Так, так.
Yes,
How many dollars? What, I'm sorry?
$35,000.
Value of the gift of the gold and the silver from your grandparents, how was the value confirmed? How did you arrive at what that value is?
Well, just like I explained the previous time, part of metals in gold and silver, they were precious metals, and then they were exchanged for golden pieces of small size, and I have the corresponding certificates of confirmation where the clear amount is not amount, where the weight of these metals is specified, and other peculiarities. So in accordance with our legislation, the rules for declaration, we are to mention those assets in gold and silver that have the certificate of compliance.
So you have a certificate for this gold and silver, and did you transfer it to dollars, or do you still have the gold and silver itself?
Ну, по-перше,
Well, partly it has been transferred into the precious metals that were given by my grandparents, and they are now in the modern shape. That's why I have declared the adequate cost, because they are like in bars, ingots, in the ingots.
The 30,000 pounds sterling.
Do you mean, did I use them? Well, since in my declaration I did not specify it, it means that I do not have it, because they were exchanged for another currency. And they are in the deposit account. That's how I have the savings. Deposit accounts where
before declaration they were in euro, but then when I began declaring, they were in dollars and hryvnia, just like I mentioned in the declarations for 2022 and 2023.
So, just for clear, so I'm clear, those funds are currently in bank accounts. Is that correct?
Partly. Because they were partly spent for purchase of the apartment, for repayment of the debt. The apartment that has been bought in 2015, partly it was spent on other apartments and other needs, but the biggest part of it is on the account, yes.
How much is in the account right now?
Звичайно,
Yes. Do you mean what I have declared in 2023 or current, like today?
Your declaration of 2023.
ну, за декларацією
In the 2023 declaration, it is indicated on bank accounts. Wait a second. I don't know if I have the right to speak publicly about this, if this information can be publicly available on the amounts that I have on my bank accounts. Can we stop maybe the broadcast? Okay, we can continue our interview. The broadcast is back.
In your written explanation to the advisory group, you indicated that one of your sources of funds were funds that were donated by your father between 2009 and 2011. And those amounts were reported as 15,000 euros, 35,000 in US dollars, and another 5,000 in US dollars that I believe went to your daughter. Is that correct?
Так.
Yes.
Can you remind us, what did your father do for a living, an occupation?
Ну, батько
My father had some managerial positions at the plant, fixing the wagons, and he has accumulated some funds, and then he also sold the house a long time ago. It was at the end of the 90s, and he worked fairly, and he was fulfilling his duties properly, and when he retired he still kept on working, but just in another field, and he had a lot of savings.
In the declaration for 2022, you declared the funds lent to your husband, or excuse me, to the husband of your sister in an amount of 15,000 US dollars. And in the direct declaration for 2023, it was $9,100. Two times? Two different loans?
ні, це залишок.
No, that was the remaining amount. So 9,100, that is minus the money or funds that were returned, repaid, that I mentioned earlier.
So the sources of that money that you lent, just for clarification, that was money from your bank account that you lent to your brother-in-law. Is that accurate?
Це були і
These were funds in cash and partly from bank account that I withdrew from bank accounts, but mostly it was in cash.
Are those funds still outstanding? In other words, have they been repaid? What you lent your brother-in-law, has he repaid it to you?
в минулому році
Last year, he repaid 5,900, and the remaining amount is 9,100.
All right, let me draw your attention then to gifts in 2023. In the declaration of the person authorized to perform the functions of state or local government in 23, you declared a cash gift in the amount of, is it 53,000 hryvnia from Ms. Boyko?
так.
Okay.
Yes.
And what is the relationship between you and Ms. Boyko?
Це моя
She is my sister, sibling.
You had a monetary gift of 200,000 hryvnia from Pronyak Vasilivna.
так.
Yes. That's in 2023, yes.
Це моя мати.
She is my mother.
All right. And do you know the funds of the, where these cash gift, where the funds came from for these two women to gift to you?
Законні джерела
The legal origin of these funds. Well,
Hire this money to give to you.
Well, my mother had her savings. There's a certain amount of her savings. And my sister also used to work, and she still works. So the official legal origin, sources of origin of these funds.
Now, is this the same sister whose husband you lent $15,000 to?
так.
Yes.
Purpose of the gifts? Why were they given to you?
53 тисячі, як
$53,000 were given to for the education of my daughter.
Gifts that you received from your mother and your sister, you used for the education of your daughter.
тільки
No, only the gift from my sister, but my mother made that gift for my birthday, for the birthday of my daughter. So she had an opportunity, that's why she made such a gift.
And do you have any documentation of the transfer of these gifts to you? Is there any paper that shows that this happened?
так.
Okay.
Yes.
That documentation?
А ви не вимагали ці
You did not request this documentation. So we have the certificates from the bank transfer. I suppose, as for you have the information about the gift from my sister, because I did provide this information. As for the amount that my mother gave to me, there was no such request, but if necessary, I can provide it. Yes, it was all done officially via the bank accounts transfers.
Це загальна сума, це не
This is the total amount. That was not one-time gift in the amount of 200,000. That's a total amount.
That she gifted you over a period of time?
так, так.
Yes.
What period of time are you talking about?
Ну, оскільки
So since the declaration is for 2023, then it's for 2023.
Just for the year of 2023 is when both of these gifts occurred. All right.
так.
Yes.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Then let me continue in such case. Miss Natalia, during the period from 2004 until 2020, you worked in the National Academy of Internal Affairs at different positions as a professor, senior professor, associate professor. Under your guidance, a number of dissertations for the Doctor of Philosophy were defended. In particular, I will name several examples. In 2017, Barazenko Viktor Viktorovich defended his dissertation on the topic of legal regime of the state border of Ukraine, constitutional and legal aspects of regulation and protection. In 2020, Shevchenko Alla Alexandrovna defended her dissertation on the topic of municipal and legal status of territorial communities in Ukraine and foreign countries. In 2021, Morgun Vyacheslav Vasilyevich defended his dissertation on the topic of constitutional and legal provision of material and financial foundations of local self-governance in Ukraine and foreign countries. The advisory group of experts have found in the dissertations of these persons a range of coincidences without references to the text of your doctoral dissertation, which you defended in 2013, on the topic of the European system of local and regional self-governance, international legal principles of formation, functioning, and development. How can you explain that? Thank you for your question. First of all, if you allow, I would like to clarify I worked in the academy until 2020, not 2010. Yes, just for clarification. I'm sorry for this mistake then. And with respect to the fact that my dissertation was defended in early 2014. It was prepared in 2013, but I defended in 2014. Yes, but the essence of the question is different. You were the academic supervisor of these persons, and in their dissertations there are whole texts and paragraphs which coincide with your paper without references, and you were the academic supervisor. Yes, first of all, I would like to specify that all the dissertations apart from Barazenko were checked for anti-plagiarism according to the current legislation. Until they were checked by Unicheck or other systems, they were not allowed for defense. And I've provided the AGE with notes regarding these dissertations, and according to the official note regarding Morgun's dissertation, that is 97% of regional text. So Shevchenko has a similar percentage of unique paper, and you've received the information notes from the system. I have not denied against the use of my dissertation because the topics were quite similar. I cannot state that there were no references at all. There were some references, but not in all highlighted paragraphs that the AGE has sent to me. And in the list of scientific literature sources, they are also mentioned, and in the text there are also references, but not in all paragraphs, not in all sentences. Okay, so you yes, I've consented to them using my dissertation. Okay, have you consented to them using your dissertation without references? They refer to my dissertation, but not in every sentence. not in every sentence, but overall there are references to my dissertation. I read through these papers and there are references, many references. Okay, while communicating with the AGE in response to our questions, in your answers you referred namely to Article 443 of the Civil Code of Ukraine. Do you confirm that? Yes. Can you please comment on that? Can you explain why you believe that this article is relevant in this particular instance and why there were no violations? First of all, I would like to point out that authors of papers are responsible. I, as the academic supervisor, am also responsible for the quality of prepared papers, but if I consented to them using this information, then it's not a problem. Apart from postgraduate students, this dissertation is quoted over 200 times. I've also provided you with information about quotes from my dissertation. And on the contrary, there is a requirement that the academic supervisor is the specialist on the topic of researches conducted by postgraduate students, and I did not object against that, especially given that there are references in the literature sources and in the text. Maybe not in all paragraphs, but I've received UNICHEC notes, so I did not doubt that they were compliant with the current legislation. Okay, Ms. Natalia, I will quote the law of Ukraine on education. A violation of academic integrity consists in academic plagiarism, in particular, reproduction of published texts of other authors without a specification of the author. So, okay, not very prevalent, but there were such instances in the papers of those persons who were your postgraduate students. Thank you for drawing my attention to this fact. I will try to avoid that further in order to avoid any questions about that with respect to me and to my postgraduate students. Okay, one more question. I have a question about your motivation letter, Ms. Natalia. The motivation letter is quite extensive. There you state that Ukraine is the driving force of improvement of functioning of the EU and NATO. There you mention about high patriotism, creative potential which is required from the judge of the Constitutional Court of Ukraine, and etc. And in the last sentence of the motivation letter you say that your dream is to become a judge of the Constitutional Court and facilitate that this court becomes the best constitutional body in Europe and in the world. Can you please tell us, what, in your opinion, what reforms should be implemented with respect to the Constitutional Court so that it can become the best in Europe and in the world, and what potential capacities you see in yourself that you can contribute in order to make sure that this Constitutional Court becomes the court of your dream if you are appointed to this position? Thank you for your question. I think that a competent lawyer, that's a dream of any competent lawyer. What can I do to make sure that the Constitutional Court becomes the best in the world given the current shortcomings? First of all, a few words about these shortcomings. In my opinion, authorities of the Constitutional Court of Ukraine are quite limited with respect to the authorities which existed before the reform of 2016. What do you mean? And taking into account positive foreign experience of constitutional bodies in other countries. For example, previously we had a wider range of entities which can submit claims to the Constitutional Court. For example, the positive practice is when the territorial communities have the right to appeal to the Constitutional Court, and we used to have this practice, and other countries have similar initiatives, and these entities can submit their appeals. According to the law, any person can submit a constitutional complaint. Yes, but we still have the decentralization reform, and we have different territorial communities in terms of their potential, in terms of their human resources, in terms of their financial resources, and taking into account the current martial law in Ukraine, significant destructions of territorial communities, I think it would be appropriate. Maybe we should even expand the authorities of the Constitutional Court, similar to other countries. For example, they have the practice there of resolving disputes regarding election competence, for example, bringing to responsibility judges. So quite a significant range of authorities can be given to the Constitutional Court. Another shortcoming is probably about transparency. Interaction with other bodies and public authorities should be ensured. It is also necessary to ensure independence, impartiality of the court and judges. And I hope that this work in which we are participating all together right now in a transparent way will also promote improvements in the work of the Constitutional Court. Why do I hope that it will be the best in Europe and in the world? That's because potential of our lawyers, transparent selections of judges to the Constitutional Court, the situation in which Ukraine lives right now, I think all of that is an impulse in order to make our constitutional body the best, taking into account foreign experience, implementation of international standards, and many other aspects. Okay, thank you. I had a limit of 3 minutes, so that's it. I have no other questions. Maybe other members of the AGE have questions to our candidate. No questions. If there are no questions, Ms. Nataliia, you now have the opportunity to address the advisory group of experts with your concluding remarks, and you have up to 5 minutes. If you allow, I will be concise. I would like to say that my second participation in this competition shows that I have admitted my mistakes during the previous competition. I've taken into consideration all of your preferences and recommendations. I'm ready to be open, transparent. I'm ready to diligently fulfill functional duties of the judge of the Constitutional Court in the future if you trust my candidacy. Taking into account my professional achievements, my academic creative potential, my experience in the legislative sphere, my experience in the sphere of interaction with public authorities, taking into account my academic achievements and many other aspects. I hope that our country is among the best in Europe, and regardless of temporary difficulties encountered by our Ukrainian people, I would like to mention again that it should be an impetus for us to accumulate all of our efforts, including professional, creative and patriotic ones, and with the help of our international partners, our national experts and specialists, civil society, we should build the best constitutional body that would be really transparent, really accountable, that will consist exclusively of competent judges, and that will work for the sake of our Ukrainian state during post-war reconstruction, which I hope will come soon. Thank you so much for your trust and for this possibility to refute some doubts that you had with respect to me. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Nataliia, Thank you for your participation in this competition. Thank you for your answers to our questions. And now I'm announcing the end of the interview of the advisory group of experts with candidate for the position of the judge of the Constitutional Court of Ukraine, Kaminska Nataliia Vasilyevna. Thank you.